He's a good man.
I do not want to hurt them.
In a bad business.
I do not want to fight.
But even good men
We are not fighting.
get pushed too far.
Try to be reasonable.
This Friday, see the movie that marks the arrival of The Rock
I'm impressed.
as a bona fide movie star.
Do you work out?
Thumbs up with a rundown. Rated PG-13 at theaters Friday.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I'm your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, my co-host. I got aspiring chef in the house tonight. We got Mr. James O'Reilly.
We are so back after
Yeah.
American Wedding.
We were so back, it's money. Coincidentally enough, we were riding a low of low with Sean William Scott, and now maybe a high of highs with Sean William Scott.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question mark to put there.
We will find out. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies that we've seen in theaters and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy that kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. It's how you help the channel grow. Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching The Rundown.
That's
the
right.
movie that, from what I hear, made The Rock a bona fide movie star.
It's true. Yeah, they said it was bona fide time for a new Rock. I don't think that this wasn't The Rock's first movie though. We've had how dare they just discount the absolute bona fides of the Scorpion King?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really seminal moment in The Rock's career. And you know, I got a clip of him here.
Let's hear. I
The
always
Scorpion
love
King is a movie based on the character of the Scorpion King.
Rock. You're so right. Your ability to just tap into a character's thoughts is just amazing.
Yeah, and I mean so just for some more context, right? The Rock was in the Mummy 2 and delivered powerful performances such as this. And so we know he's got the raw power, right? We know, but this is really the first time I think that he's in a movie where he's got a bunch of lines. He's the lead of the movie.
He's getting to show some range for the first time, really. Getting to step up to bat. Let's see if he can hit a homer out there for the people. We know he can round out the team, but can he be the lead on deck? That's what we're gonna find out tonight.
He's got the chops. Now it's time to let him spread his wings a little, you know?
Exactly. He's gonna spread his wings and fly. He's like a peacock, Captain. But that's right. We're watching the 2003 action comedy, The Rundown, directed by Peter Berg, written by R.J. Stewart and James Vanderbilt, and starring The Rock, Sean William Scott, Rosario Dawson, and everybody's favorite, Christopher Walken.
Who knew the guy from Dawson's Creek wrote this movie? That's pretty cool.
Listen, dude, he was a huge movie buff in Dawson's Creek. It only makes sense that Dawson would go on to write such action fare like The Rundown. Did you see the movies he was making on Dawson's Creek?
I only watched the first 3 episodes of Dawson's Creek, and I knew that it was going to be a real slippery slope for me, so I didn't let myself get too sucked in.
Bowed out fairly early. That was a good move on your part. I saw a smackerel of episodes that Heather was watching in the first season, enough to know that James Vanderbeek Dawson had some bona fides when it came to making movies. So of course he's going to write The Rundown.
Yeah, I made it as far as him talking his way into that film class, which for some reason he couldn't just wait until junior year to take. I don't know. It was real important.
Listen, dude, when you're sitting on a hot script like The Rundown, you got to get into that class as soon as possible. You can't wait for junior year. He needed to find his R.J. Stewart. But we got the DVD out here tonight, of course. We got The Rundown. We're dropping to the back, and we're going to look at our lovely log line. And it reads, Beck is a bounty hunter sent into the treacherous jungles of the Amazon to bring the rebellious Travis back to the States. When Beck and Travis reluctantly join forces to hunt down a priceless treasure, this unlikely team embarks on a pulse-pounding, non-stop thrill ride. Quick, easy, to the point.
Yeah, that's the rundown for you.
Yeah, dude, that is The Rundown, Jim. The Rundown on The Rundown. Haha, I'll be here all night. Thank you. Tip your waitress.
Yeah. That was pretty good. Sorry.
Thank you, thank you. I was waiting for the little
It took
peanut
me a
gallery to
second. I
chime.
didn't
Yeah,
get it at first, but then I really
that's what
like
it
it
is.
was too clever for me.
Yeah, sometimes these jokes are so layered, like it just takes a second for it to really seep in. But yeah, we got there. Did you see the rundown in theaters back when it came out?
No, no. I don't think I saw this movie at all, honestly, when it came out.
Ooh, this wasn't a first time watch though, right? You had seen this movie though previously.
No, I think this was a first time watch, yeah.
Really?
I mean, yeah, this is
Ooh.
like the kind of movie like I was familiar with some of the parts, but I think it was mostly from commercials. Like I knew the thing where they both got like hung upside down,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that's because it was from like a trailer.
Interesting, interesting. I'm surprised because you were a wrestling fan back in the day, right? You're a big rock guy.
Yeah, but I mean, I was, but this was also like 2003 was probably when I was starting to not be as into that. Um, we're getting like close to like high school age, which is kind of when I like fall off of watching that. And then the other thing is we've talked about the summer that this movie comes out in like 100 times. It's like there was so much going on movie wise.
It's true. 2003 was an absolute stacked summer. There was only so much mediocrity you can go out and watch before we had to go back to class.
I mean, how are you gonna talk to me about not seeing the rundown when you missed Bad Boys 2 and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen like 3 weeks before this came out?
All right. Listen, I only had time for a few action thrillers and comedies, and it was The Rock was taking precedent. Sean
Yeah,
Connery's
I mean
out,
that's
baby.
fair. That's
Rock is
fair.
it. Sean Connery had his day. It's The Rock's time now. He got the baton
It's a
passed to
real
him.
shame we never got those two in a movie together.
Yeah, that would have been something. Sean Connery. They missed each other by a few months because it is a League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen that retires Sean Connery, right? He doesn't make another movie after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think so. Although it is weird, like, you're telling me The Rock wasn't in The Rock?
Yeah, contrary to popular
I
belief,
could have
it,
sworn.
The Rock is not a biopic about his unlikely origin story, playing football and then becoming a professional wrestler.
becoming
It's,
becoming a California prison.
it's who knew that there was also an island called The Rock? I like never would have dreamed in a million years those two would correlate. And yet here we are. I don't think you're the only one there, Jim, that did not see this movie in theaters. I think there was a plethora of you out there because it has a very interesting box office story that I think it's about time we dive into.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right. Interesting is a good way to put it. This movie is gonna have an $85 million budget. That's what's listed here on Box Office Mojo, and it's gonna
Not
come
bad.
out the weekend of September 26th through the 28th.
Oh, here you're talking about a stacked summer. This is we're in school at this point, Jim. We could have
Yeah,
been
I mean
going for
that's
after
fair.
school viewing.
That's fair. Yeah, this is later than I thought it was. I thought this was like an August movie. But yeah, I don't know. I mean like back to school, like we're not going to the movies as much. We got homework, you know?
We got too much to do. We're just lowly ninth graders.
Um, yeah. So but it's gonna open number one with
All right.
$18.6 million. dollars.
How much was that opening? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
18.6.
Oh, dude, that is not great. 18.6 is going to put us somewhere in the middle, on the low end of the middle. We're in the number 37 position here. The rundown's going to sandwich in between Shanghai Nights 19.5 and ahead of Just Married's 17.5. So not the company you kind of want to be keeping as an action comedy.
Yeah, not great. I mean, number one, cool, but when you put
Yeah.
it into the context of what comes out the same weekend against it, it's
Ooh,
I think a little
interesting.
bit more understandable, right? So it
Okay.
shares an opening weekend with the second place movie, Under the
Yes.
Tuscan Sun.
Oh, dude. Now
That's that
there's
Diane Lane movie, I
yeah,
think, right?
an absolute delight that movie is.
Yeah, I don't know. I
That's a
was always a Must Love Dogs guy more
that's
than Under the
a
Tuscan
get
Sun.
must love dogs. Get out of here.
What, you didn't like Must Love Dogs? Get out.
I
You're
do,
getting
I
out of
do
here.
love I do love must love dogs, but not better than Under the Tuscan Sun. Like that's a Diane Lane classic, right? That's peak Diane Lane up there.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about Diane Lane, just like literally like Under the Tuscan Sun. She's hanging out in like villas and stuff. It was a good movie.
It's classic.
The other movie that comes out this week that's notable, all the way down in seventh place, Duplex, which I'm pretty sure that's a Ben Stiller, Drew
Yeah,
Barrymore movie, right?
yeah, yes, it is. There's another forgotten classic right there.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
and I
You know, all
use
right.
and I use classic very liberally there.
Yeah, definitely very liberally. I don't know if I've ever seen Duplex, honestly.
I think I saw it
Now,
once, like way back in the day, and it is not great.
you were killing me
I was killing
for
you.
not seeing this movie in
Okay.
theaters. I'll give you a couple of hints as to why. I was saying maybe it was the summer movies, whatever. I'm gonna give you the rest of this top five, and I'm gonna tell you what you should have been seeing.
All right. Well, we got the top two.
In third place, in its second weekend, Underworld with 9.4 million.
Oh boy, the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Ooh, man, what a franchise that became.
In fourth place in its second weekend, which again, dude, what are you doing?
All right, so this is the
Secondhand
movie.
Lions with
Oh, get out of here.
8.2 million. It's got who I can't think of the guy's name. I know Michael
What?
Caine's in it.
Yeah, Michael Caine is in it.
And
Uh,
then I forget who the other guy is. Is it
Robert
Robert Duvall?
Duvall. Robert
Yeah,
Duvall's
yeah,
the other
yeah.
guy.
And then
Yeah,
Haley Joel Osment. God, what a classic
what a
movie.
class. Michael Caine talks like this.
Michael Caine.
You ought to get very loud with it.
And then fifth place, I don't know if I've ever heard of this movie, The Fighting Temptations.
No, I've never heard of that one either. Is that about the band The Temptations getting into like an underground fight club?
Yeah, it's like, you ever see that movie Green Room? It's like
Oh, yeah.
that, but with the Temptations.
Dude, that's a movie. I'd watch that movie. I'm not gonna lie. That seems pretty
No,
good.
it's a New York advertising executive travels to small southern towns to collect an inheritance. To
Anybody
a
in it?
small southern town to collect an inheritance, but finds he must create a gospel choir and lead it to success before he can collect.
Jesus Christ. We used
I
to be a
remember this
society, man.
now. I remember this now.
What a concept. Is there anybody known
Yeah.
in this movie?
Let me click on it. Let me see. I
It sounds like something like Morris Chestnut would be like the lead actor in.
Yeah, this maybe a little bit before Morris Chestnut's time though? Like, is he like
Oh,
leading movies at this point?
he's around right now. Obviously, I don't think he's as huge, but he's cutting his teeth at this point.
Yeah, so I think I'm winning here, right? So the
Okay,
the
what?
Beyonce plays what I'm guessing is like the lead, one of the lead parts.
Hi, hot
I
off a gold
stand
member.
by. This is the pre-Morris Chestnut years.
All right.
Cuba
So
Gooding
who's
Jr. is the lead in this movie.
okay? All right. So all right. So yeah. So a different bald gentleman. Like it's still there.
Yeah, and then third billing is Mike Epps. Both of those guys feel like they don't overlap so much with Morris Chestnut to me.
Mike Epps and Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
Well, definitely not Mike Epps. He's more like comedically,
But
way
yeah,
more
I don't know.
comedic than Morris Chestnut is.
This is like, I remember this because it's like, oh, I bet you he learns that life's more than just money, like, and then he's gonna stay with the gospel choir. Great stuff.
Dude, we used to make cinema. What happened?
Yeah, and then in sixth place, another movie that I can't believe you didn't see this because I know I saw this in theaters too. I saw Underworld, Secondhand Lions, and this.
Jesus.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico in sixth
Oh
place.
yeah, no, I missed that one. That was I don't think I even saw Desperado. I think Once Upon a Time in Mexico was the one I saw first before I even saw Desperado or El Mariachi in that like trilogy.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So that wasn't in my bag yet. Spy Kids was as deep as my Robert Rodriguez went at this point.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on to weekend two of the rundown. In weekend two, it's going to drop 47.8% down to third place.
Mhm.
Pretty substantial drop for only $18 million
Oh yeah,
opening.
yeah.
It's going to drop
For
down to 9.7 million.
ooh, yeah, it's that's a tough one, which is
Uh,
interesting because you would think. I mean, I know. Honestly, it makes sense, especially having gone through the 2003 box office of the summer so much. It feels like people at this point have got to be exhausted on action movies at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we saw
that
like how
whole
many of
summer.
them came out,
Yeah, and
and like,
all of them were like very mediocre. So I wonder if that turned off a lot of people to like jumping on an unknown action movie coming out, being like, "You already got me with Charlie's Angels. You already got me with Tomb Raider. Like I'm not falling for this again."
yeah, I mean, that's also probably why this movie comes out in September, right? It's because it's made, and they're like, "Are we really going to try and compete with Terminator?" And like, is that what we're doing? You know?
Yeah. Although like I feel like this would have been much better served being an August movie. You're right there that it feels like an August movie, and I feel like it should have been an August movie. Like I think
It
this
feels
could have
very,
competed with some of those other August movies. Like you're telling me you couldn't go up against the sequel to Tomb Raider? Like, come on.
yeah, it feels like that's where it belongs, and
Yeah.
like, especially because it's like more of a comedy. We've seen comedies kind of
Excel
own
in
August back then.
yeah. And then August could
Uh,
have been Sean William Scott's month, man.
the top two that weekend are both openings. I think you probably saw this in theaters. Number one, School of Rock.
Are you guessing if that's our next movie or not?
Yeah,
No, actually, I did not see School of Rock in theaters.
dude, what were you doing back
I don't
then,
know. I don't know.
dude?
I don't know. I didn't see School of Rock until home video.
Oh my God. And then no,
Yeah.
in second place, with 16.2 million, Out of Time.
Oh, Denzel, dude, there's a
Yeah,
movie.
Denzel.
There's a movie.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
Oh, you know, dude, you should watch Out of Time. It's like a really fun B movie. Like it's like a he's like a Miami, like a small town guy outside of Miami sheriff, and he gets roped into like this crazy like homicide that like points to him as the perpetrator. So he's trying to like stay two steps ahead of like the feds while also trying to solve the crime of what happened.
Oh, right, right. He's got to
Yeah.
like prove it wasn't him, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
And Ava Mendez is the FBI agent that's like hot on his trail, and she's also his ex-wife. Dun
Oh my
dun
God.
dun.
I was pretty in, and then you said she was ex-wife, and now I'm like 100,000% in. I'm so in.
It's a very entertaining movie, and you know Denzel's never phoning it in.
Yeah, definitely not. And then I mean, like, the rundown's really gonna start losing steam here, so I think I'm just gonna run it out of the top 10.
Run it down.
Weekend three, another 46.2% drop down to 5.2 million, seventh place.
Ooh,
Uh, weekend four, it's down in 10th place.
dude, if it gets
It's
five,
a
I'd be shocked.
46.6% drop. It's down to 2.8 million. And then finally, weekend five, it's down to just a shade over $1 million and 14th place.
Ooh, all right. So 4 weeks joining actually only two movies so far that we've done, Jim. I've only also made it 4 weeks, and so the rundown is joining two very special movies: Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and Just Married.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
feels honestly kind of like the right company. It's like because those are both like very much genre movies, right? One of them's like a kids movie, one of them's like a romantic comedy. They're kind of in that same
Yeah.
same
Just
boat where they're like nothing super special about any of them, right?
just genre movies that couldn't find a deep enough audience to keep it around very long.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we'll go over some totals. It finishes with 47.7 million domestic, which against that $85 million budget, oof, that's
Yeah.
bad.
Not good.
Uh, 32.9 million international for a worldwide total of 80.7 million.
Oh, dude, it couldn't even break 100. That's fucking rough.
It couldn't
Uh,
even make its budget back.
yeah, that's oof, that's tough. All right, so that
And I
like
always say
80.
that's not even counting the marketing, which you heard that awesome TV spot we had.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you
Those
know they
those
spent some
cost a pretty
hard.
penny.
Yeah, you know they spent some hard dime on that marketing, that PR. All right, so that 80 million in pocket change gonna put us on the low end here in the 45th position, behind Old School's 87.1 and ahead of Hole's 71.4. So yeah, that is definitely not a great reaction there from the audience. And it's interesting that we would go on to get the Rock becoming The Rock, considering, if this was his, bona fide debut to show that he could carry a movie, he didn't really carry the movie. Performance aside, box office wise here, he does not carry the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think this is kind of off the top of my head, but I think this ends up being kind of the end of Sean William Scott more than anything.
It's true. I don't really, outside of like the next sequel to American Wedding, I don't recall many other movies that like he does what the Mr. Woodcock, I think was one of the other ones we saw him in, and like so he really falls off the reservoir at this point.
Mr. Woodcock, like that's like a totally different ball game than this movie, which is like a big budget like action movie with The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's like not that he's totally like completely banished, but it's just like he's never getting movies like this again, as far as I can tell.
like they gave him some. This was a good opportunity to show that you can do more than just be, the funny guy in comedy movies.
Okay, actually, I take it back.
Oh, okay.
I
All
think
right,
he does
let's
get
hear it.
one more swing. It's not really quite as big a swing as The Rundown, but this is a movie I
Okay,
know we'll be doing in the future.
that will be done.
2005's Dukes of Hazzard.
It's a comedy also.
I know, but it's different. Like it's a Dukes of Hazzard thing, which like is an IP. It's like with Johnny Knoxville when Johnny Knoxville kind of had a movie career.
I don't know if that one's as big a swing as you think it is, but I'll give you that olive branch.
I mean, it's a bigger swing than Mr. Woodcock, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, but yeah,
and
all right,
then
fine. So we'll say Dukes of Hazzard is his last real go around in the limelight.
yeah, this is really the last movie I feel like that he's in where it's like, yep, we're putting a lot of money into this. Like, this is the movie that put The Rock on the map, dude. Like Sean William Scott's never sniffing a Rock movie again, right?
I mean, I don't know with the way the Rock movies are performing these days, it's quite possible.
Yeah, that's right. That's fair. But yeah, but I mean, like, it's also like the Scorpion King's probably already in the works by the time this movie's released, so it feels like they're not gonna just like can that
But
movie.
Scorpion King had already come out at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Scorpion King was before this.
Oh man, how did we
I
not
think
watch that? What
because I
were we
think it
doing?
went Mummy Returns, then he did the Scorpion King, and then he goes into now doing like the rundown, and then like Be Cool is in the pipeline not too far from here.
Yeah, I think Be Cool is probably what saves him too. I mean, like, he's not really bad in this movie either, which probably
Oh no, I
helps.
don't. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying. Honestly, I don't think anybody is really downright awful to the point that you should be like we're not hinging movies on them anymore. But
Yeah. Which is an interesting question. So like the
yeah,
box office is kind
it's
of underwhelming. What were the critics, what was the cinema score? What were the critics saying? And is there any amazing reviews?
critically, it's not terrible. Like it's a middling movie. But it's like it feels like it's like just above that like mid mediocrity because it's sitting right now with the critics 69% against 66 audience right there. 6.7 IMDb, so right in there, but it got that A minus cinema score. So the people that
Okay.
did go see it opening weekend, they were jamming on it. So the people that saw it were behind it. The issue is that just you couldn't convince enough of people to go check it out, and that word of mouth just couldn't spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting. And I do have a couple reviews here for you, Jim.
Yeah, I mean I'm on the edge of my seat. This is my favorite part.
So this is it was tough again to find some good ones here. I actually could only find one-star review that was close enough to when the movie came out that was worth
Yeah.
to go into. That
This
felt
movie doesn't feel like it would be very polarizing. Like I can't imagine people leaving it with a lot of strong opinions. You know what I mean? Like it feels like everybody would just give this like a 3 out of
yeah,
6, you
exactly.
know?
Yeah. It's very much feels like a movie that people will come out of and be like, yeah, that was solid, and then just like move on and forget about it like 20 years later. But so we got I was able to find one, which was an interesting take on this guy's part. Um, so he writes, I love it when Hollywood wants to force feed me their anti-gun ideology via a graphically violent and violent-centered movie. A
Yes.
single unarmed bodybuilder beats dozens of heavily armed mercenaries and mouths off about how much he dislikes guns. Yeah, real great. He's like real violent, and therefore cool people don't touch guns. Sure, violence is cool as long as it's unarmed.
Oh my God. Yeah, great. Dude, you know what I'm noticing? Like
What?
it's just like people have always been insane. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Like you think people have just become polarizing now, and it's like, no, dude, people were always polarizing. You just get to the age where you start to understand, like, oh yeah, people are just fucking crazy, man. Like you put enough
yeah.
people together in the world, and they're gonna be fucking nuts.
Like he doesn't use guns because it's like more fun to watch. Like it's got like there's no like deeper message here. It's just like
Like
way cooler that he's not shooting people for an hour and a half, you know?
yeah, and it's funny because watching this movie, I wonder if that's a different sensibility for us against the normal Joe Schmo going to see a movie. Because when I was watching that, what I saw was not them being like, we're going to preach this anti-gun rhetoric, but more that it was like, oh, that's an interesting beat to put in this movie where it's like we have a character that doesn't like guns. So then at the end, when we have the big spectacle and he starts using guns, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, now he's turned it on. So like we look at it more as like a device to tell the story. And I wonder if like the normal Joe Schmo is just like can't recognize that and just immediately feels like they're being preached to.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's very interesting to me that you watch this movie and you feel like you're being preached to because it's not preachy like at
That's what I'm
all.
saying. Yeah.
It's never.
Because like it's not like The Rock stands there and goes, "I don't like guns because the gun laws in this country are so lax and anyone can get him and shoot up a school." Like he just goes like, "I don't like guns," and that was it.
Yeah, he's like he doesn't use guns because he's afraid of what he'll do if he uses them, which is like I mean, it's like a reasonable thing to do. It's like something you see, it's like a trope that's a thing. Like people who are very competent at like hurting people probably don't necessarily love hurting people, you know?
So like it just made sense. So it is funny that like someone could watch that and immediately feel like they're being lectured, and it's
Like
like
it would be like if you watched The Quick and the Dead and you were like, "Oh my God, yeah, everybody's trying to force their religion down my throat and their peace." It's like because Russell Crowe doesn't like to shoot people in the beginning. It's like, well, I don't know if that's really what they were getting at, you know?
yeah, right. Like it's like to those people, we say this many times on this podcast. To those people, I don't think movies are for you, my friend. Then we turn it over to the other side, to our 10-star people.
Oh yeah,
And we learned that people on the 10 side are also pretty crazy at times.
I bet.
So we got this guy who is probably about as subtle as a rock. And he writes, awesome. The best non-kung fu-ish, non-special effects scenes I've seen in a long time. The Rock has arrived. The torch of big action movie star has been passed.
A
Literally.
star is born.
He goes, the torch of big action movie star has been passed. Literally. Look for it at the beginning of the movie. As if anybody could miss in the beginning of the movie Arnold Schwarzenegger walking past him saying, have fun.
Yeah. Which, what was that? I was like trying to think if it was supposed to be that Arnold Schwarzenegger was at the party. Like it was like that's how big the party was that Arnold was there.
Yeah,
But
right.
was
Those
it
NFL.
literally just being like, hey, I used to make movies like this. Now you make movies like
Now it's your
this.
turn. I am giving you the reins.
Yeah.
I
What
do
is
like
it?
it
Like that's
funnier
so
that it's like,
silly.
yeah, I do like it your way funnier where it's like it's just such a big party. We've got NFL football players there. The Arnold Schwarzenegger's there. Like this is the place to be.
Dude, the best defensive lineman Notre Dame's produced in 20 years. I uh
Yeah.
I watched the movie with Alyssa and like the first like 5 minutes are playing and she's like, "Is this movie about football? Like what is there so much football going on?" I'm like, "I don't think it is." Like I'm pretty sure it's not about football.
Nope, it's just a very silly opening of the
But
movie.
yeah,
And then
they introduced like seven different football players. I
yeah,
felt like I was
yeah,
watching the NFL draft for a little bit there. Like
yeah. I thought they were about to start doing the combine. Like they were setting up how many
yeah,
like amazing football players there were. I was like, all right, what do we start
they're
doing
like
reaches? Like
they were like playing highlights of the football players. Like it was so crazy.
it's such a weird section of the movie.
But then
Uh,
they put like a hat on it at the end though, when The Rock like beats all of them up, and then they play his like player card with like retrieval expert.
it's definitely a choice. A very 2000s choice. And we'll find out in just a few minutes if we like that or not. But we have one last 10-star review here
Okay.
from another person who put this out opening weekend. So this is one of the A- cinema score people. They came home, had to write a review immediately. So she writes, the funniest thing I have seen other than Johnny Depp in Pirates if anyone has seen this movie and says it sucks, has no clue what they are talking about. The scene where the monkeys are coming up to them and they can't move and The Rock is telling them to go the way is the funniest. To him, a man his size doing that scene is like, oh my God, great. And the scene where The Rock got his butt kicked by the rebels is the best scene, other than the scene where Sean William Scott tried to fight him. If you say it sucked, you have to see it again and watch it more closely, and then you'll see how great it really is.
I just love like it seems like you can go to the extremes of any review section and just like literally see American society crumbling from within. Like this person is like, if you didn't think this movie was awesome, you are an idiot. Like you don't even know what you're talking about. It's
She's
so
acting as if like you didn't understand it, which is why you didn't like it, as if it would
yeah,
be
you need to
tough
go
to
watch it
follow.
again. Watch more closely, as if there's anything subtle about this movie. Like I didn't like there's something I missed on the first watch.
There's a lot of subtext in this movie, Jim, that really goes over a first-time viewer's eyes.
Yeah. Like it just cracks me up how adamant people are that like if you don't agree with me, you're a fucking moron. Like,
Or just how like
and
extreme to
like
both sides they will go.
yeah,
Like,
like not only do people believe that, but they believe it about the rundown.
yeah.
Like it's like this movie really?
And I just love seeing the average person react to certain things about like a movie because you look at like the scene where they're tied up and the monkeys like hump the rock, and to her that was like Citizen Kane of cinema. Like that was like you
No, no,
couldn't
no.
do better than that. Like
First
the
of
rock
all,
making faces at the monkey is like that's if you don't like this movie, you didn't watch that scene close enough.
First of all, that's not the scene she was talking about. She was talking about the second one when they're like waking up from the drug.
Yeah, well, that's it. All right. A plethora of scenes here for
Yeah,
this
yeah,
girl.
no.
We're top
Which,
of the line.
granted, that scene was really funny. That scene, like, I cracked up at it. But also, if you didn't think it was funny, that's cool too. You know, like,
No, Jim, you just weren't watching close enough. But let me turn our attention over to us now and see where we line it. Let me see how closely you were paying attention to this movie, Jim.
yeah,
Let's hear some thoughts on the rundown. We
yeah. I
we kind of
mean,
started to dip into it a little bit, and it seems like did that opening work for you?
yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. I liked it a lot because I mean, it set all the groundwork. It was maybe a little bit long, but like, I left that knowing everything I needed to know about The Rock. You know,
I think that scene is
like,
a lot of fun. And I like the very 2000s-ness of it, like with how like just like chopped up it is in the editing and frenzied it is, along with those kind of title cards on each player. Like it just adds such like a funny little flavor to it.
yeah, at times this movie definitely enters into like fever dream territory, and that's one of the times when they're showing all the football highlights and they're showing all the player cards, and he's like naming them and what school they went to.
Like the one dude
Um,
who's just already waiting there and he's like, I don't know much about football, man. Just lining it up so that he can do the
yeah,
rundown.
right, which really cracked me up because like I that guy was like my voice. I was like, yeah, I don't care about like I don't really need to know like all these guys' names and like where they played college football. Like maybe you could just get on with the movie. But it all worked though. Like I said, like it definitely entered into like fever dream territory for that part, which I liked.
Well, I like how it builds too,
Um,
because you learn that we're meeting the Rock. He is in this kind of like violent-esque, organization, but he's a guy that doesn't want to be violent. He wants to settle his means as however he can, non-violently, and just get out so that he can be a chef. And I like how
yeah,
that builds to the point where he's like, I don't want to hurt these guys, like, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
has to
Well,
go
no,
beat
because
up
he's a
seven
fan of the
football
team they
players.
play for. He
Yeah,
like thinks they can win a Super Bowl, so he doesn't want to like beat them up. It's so funny.
yeah, like I really enjoy that, and that I think is a fun, unique way too to open up an action comedy movie because we've seen these openings for action movies, so many times, with your Rush Hours, your Lethal Weapons and everything. So like that opening scene, you really need to make sure you're adding a unique flavor. And I think this was a fun route for them to take to set this movie apart from other action comedies that it's going to try and emulate, and while also still being like a fun opening action comedy scene.
Yeah, yeah. And then I mean it goes to that second scene where like The Rock has like some kind of weird like Baby Driver-esque relationship set up with this guy. Like they don't really explain it, which is like a big plus, I think, because they could have done another 5 minutes in the beginning of this movie showing me like what he did or like how he got roped in or all that.
Yeah.
But like ultimately none of it matters. So like I couldn't tell like the guy was just gonna give him 250,000, but he was also gonna be like free and clear of something, and I didn't quite understand what it was. But again, they were just like, it doesn't matter. He's going on a plane to the jungle. You get it. Like he's out. He just needs to get this done, and then everything's great. You know?
Like he did something that got him roped in, and now he's got to like earn his way back out. That's all we need to know. It's like, all right, golden. But I
Yeah.
like to know,
I
like maybe
ultimately don't care.
exactly, yeah. Like ultimately, it's not so important. I did find that one scene very amusing though when he first goes to talk to the guy that he's stuck working for, and the guy just goes like, you know how I feel about sarcasm. And he starts like knocking the rock down a peg or two, and the rock just takes it. And seeing that scene now after like how big The Rock has gotten and seeing all these movies where like he's like, I can only be punched the amount of times that I punch other
Yeah.
people makes it so weird to see
I
that
can't
scene
go
now
into
where
a
like,
punch deficit.
yeah, where like it makes it seeing this scene now where like he's basically getting emasculated and like letting it happen is like would never think I'd see that in a Rock movie today.
Yeah, and it works for the character too. Like he needs to do it for this guy in this movie because like the whole point is that he's getting places by showing restraint, and that's why he doesn't use guns. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he tries to avoid violence any chance he can.
And it's good. And I do like how that comes full circle, especially in the way that he eventually gets out from working for under this guy, is that he still manages to get out from him in a non-violent way by just feeding them the fruit that he got poisoned with. So like that's not only like a fun callback, but also is another way for him to get out of this organization without it resorting to violence at the end of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
movie and getting Travis out.
I didn't quite understand that part either because like the situation was basically the guy was going to give him 250K, right? And then when he was free and clear of whatever, if he brought the kid quote unquote through the door. But like, so he brings him in, and then he's just like, "So I'm good, right?" And they like shake hands, and then he drugs all of them and steals the kid. Like, he didn't get any of the money. He didn't like the guy just like shook his hand, and then he was like, "All right, hey, no take backsies. Like, even if I got him through the door, right?"
Well, I think at that point he's come full circle enough to the point that he just wants that free and clear. Like I don't think he really like that they could make it more clear throughout the movie that maybe he's given up on his aspirations of getting the money because at that point maybe just that handshake and knowing that he's free and clear is more important to him. And
Yeah,
like
I mean, but like
it's
also like, is the guy gonna like hold up the handshake part of the deal? Like, if you
yeah, I
drug him and kidnap the kid again, I don't know. It just
uh,
seems like
yeah,
you're really burning
yeah.
all the bridges
I don't know.
there.
Yeah, it seems like you're definitely leaving yourself opened up to like a follow-up attack, like maybe 24 hours after that scene ends. Once this movie fades to black, like 24 hours later, when that guy is undrugged, he's gonna come fuck you up. Like,
Right, exactly. Like they're like, and I feel like the idea is that they were maybe angling for a sequel,
yeah,
and obviously never comes because it
never
doesn't do
comes to
that well at the
fruition.
box office. But
Yeah. Or I wonder if they leave it open that like the two of them are gonna like leave the country again and maybe go back to Rosario Dawson's character, or maybe go off to like do other adventures. They
yeah,
don't leave it
well, at the very least, she's
very
gonna
clear.
send him his cut. We know that much.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So in theory, he's gonna get a few $1 million. I don't know exactly how that's gonna work, but again, who cares? Like, it's like that's not the point.
I don't know how they're wiring that to him down there. But yeah, again, he'll get it some way. He knows they're good for it. One of the things that I really liked about this movie was the level of cartoon violence that this movie puts forth.
Yeah,
And
the
one of the
physics
scenes I'm
are crazy,
speaking,
right?
yeah, one of the things I'm speaking of in particular is the scene where Sean William Scott knocks the car off the road and they go down one of the most insane like hill tumbles I think I've ever seen put on film.
The
It is like they hit trees and rocks with such thundering force. It is
there was I was
insane.
seriously thinking like, wow, this guy's really taking a big bump here. and then after I thought that, he fell like a good 15 feet onto the ground and then just kept rolling, and it was like, oh my God, dude.
When The
He
Rock
like
like
hits his
literally
heads into like
thunders
tree
through a
branches and
tree.
stuff.
And then they like careen off of like a 30-foot hill into the water, and then the truck comes over them onto them in the water. Like should have been dead
Yeah,
a million times over, and they
and
come out without a scratch.
the way it was filmed too, like they didn't even show them like getting away from the truck. Like the way it was shot and showed on screen looked like it just landed right on them. So it's like, man, they really just like, what did they like swim out of the way in that 1 second?
So the level of cartoon violence in this, in the sense that they walk away from things that would murder people a million times over without a scratch,
Oh yeah. Well,
is
yeah, and like not
amazing. And
even just that fall, but like in like the fight scenes, like
yeah,
he kicks a guy like 12 feet across a room at one point through like a barricade. There's like all kinds of crazy stuff where like it's obviously not possible, but like it looks really cool when they
cool.
do it in this movie, and it
Yeah,
adds like a layer to the action.
yeah, and I was gonna say it works for this movie. It's another flavor that gives it a uniqueness, compared to some other action comedies that we've seen and done on this show as well. And there's something to be said for it because when it first started happening, especially in that hill scene, I was like, "This is outrageous." And then by the time it was over, I was just like smiling like ear to ear. I was like, "That was silly. I loved it."
Yeah, I mean, this is a movie that unironically has somebody walk away from an explosion without looking back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is like probably when people were starting to make fun of it, but like a movie would just do that back then, like not tongue in cheek. Like it was just part of the movie.
Or the movie, and we love them for doing it. And now I think, have we come full circle to the point where we missed that in film yet, where we'd still make fun of it if they did it today, or is that kind of like a
I
lost relic
yeah,
that we would like to see it back at this point?
I think somewhere before Bill Nye started making like meme videos online joking about it, like it became a joke. Yeah, I don't think you could take it seriously anymore, the way that this movie did.
Back then, man, what a wondrous time that was back then. How does Sean William Scott feel for you in this movie? Is he less annoying to you than American Wedding? Is he more annoying?
He's definitely less annoying. He's definitely a lot more likable. I just like I just saw Red One recently,
Yeah.
and all I could think while I was watching this movie was like, man, this movie is like 1,000 times better if Chris Evans is this guy and not Sean William Scott. You know what I mean? Like
It's funny you
it's
say
like
that
if
because
they had that kind of guy in this movie, that
yeah.
movie feels like it's a bona fide hit, you know?
It's funny you say that because I was reading something as I was looking up around this movie that somebody said, like in an alternate universe, like Sean William Scott got the Chris Evans career.
Yeah, right, right. But no,
So,
that's like all I could think. And I guess maybe back in 2003, like maybe Ryan Reynolds would be more the guy. Like, but like it just, and I guess the problem is in 2003, Sean William Scott kind of was the guy. But I feel like there's guys who exist in this lane in a way that is like much more palatable. It's the nicest way I can think to say it.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see him going, either way for a lot of people,
Or
especially
like
in this
Chris Pine, you know what I mean? Like Chris
movie.
Pine, like, because like
any
I think it works
any
better if the
interchangeable.
guy's kind of like a clever like douchebag,
Yeah,
and like Sean William
yeah,
Scott's never clever. He's very brash, you know?
yeah. Pretty much, you're just looking for a roster of interchangeable, affable white guys that you could just
Yeah,
slide
right,
slide
right,
into this
right.
role.
On the Jesse Eisenberg to I don't know who's the most charismatic white guy, like on that scale, like
Oh
where
yeah,
the Chris Evans, Chris Pine
yeah.
range
Chris
is
Evans, Chris
better
Pine
off than the
range
Sean
is
William
yeah,
Scott
they're
range for
they're
this
pretty
movie.
goddamn charming, those two. So
Yeah.
I can see that. That is pretty fun. Yeah, there is a world where The Rock and Chris Evans in the Rundown is a slam dunk, and we get the Rundown 2, Electric
Yeah, right.
Boogaloo.
And we're probably going this weekend to see like the Rundown Five, like
Yeah, yeah, it is true. That could have been a whole other world. Um, Another insane thing to me in this movie, is where I would love to actually read the script, because was the Tooth Fairy thing actually in there, or is Christopher Walken just the most insane dude on the planet?
amazing,
Like,
amazing.
Like, and that's a line that only he could deliver like that. Like that played, and I was like, anyone else says that line in this movie, and I hate it. But like the way he does it, like I'm like, yep, that's yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, the
He took my
emotional
tooth.
journey that he goes on in that scene is so great too, because he starts off like explaining the tooth fairy thing, and he's like all confident, and then he's like, "Wait, do they know what the tooth fairy
Uh,
is?" And then he tries to explain it, and then just gets frustrated. And when he's like, "She takes your tooth, she gives you a quarter," I like, and then the scene just like cuts. I was like, oh, the best, dude. It's so great.
he's
He just
he's
gets
out of
so
control.
frustrated by the whole thing that he just screams like an easy explanation and calls it a day.
He's an absolute madman in this movie, in the best way possible.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then so real quick, what's your favorite fight scene in this?
I That's a good question. They're definitely up there is him fighting the one rebel guy, just because they
Yeah,
just trounce the shit out. Like the scene where they hit him and he goes flying like 16 feet into the air and like 20 feet out is like absolutely insane.
yeah, and they're
And
using all the like ropes to attack him like
yeah,
they're fucking Ewoks or something.
yeah, like they're insane. And then The Rock does this insane kip up where he's on his back, hips himself up, but also like flips himself onto his stomach to kick two guys behind him in one of the most insane displays of gravity doesn't matter that I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, I mean, he's not shooting people. He's got to do something, right?
Yeah. Dude, he's just like his upper core is just so insanely built that he can just do these death-defying like
Yeah,
punches and kicks.
yeah,
But I also like the scene in the bar when Christopher Walken and his goons first confront The Rock and they renege on the deal, and The Rock has to fight all those guys. I lose it when he throws the table at the one guy and then does this like 16-foot dive behind the pool tables.
yeah.
Like this movie
Absolutely.
is whoever in pre-production is like, I want to make the most insane like acrobatic moves in this movie. Like if Peter Berg, the director, was behind all of that, like give that dude a fucking medal because it makes this movie so enjoyable.
Yeah, it's just like it's really great editing to me because it's like it just understands that at the end of the day, I do not care how much space there was between where he was and where he had to get to jump. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it just like
All that
if
matters is
I
that it
just
looks
if you cut
cool.
it the right way, I'll totally believe it and I'm totally in. And it's just it works. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Just looks hilarious. And then like he throws the second table and the whip just whips it clean in half, like
Yeah.
a perfect putt, clean down the middle.
Like what would it have done if it had hit the rock? Like, it would have,
Like would that have
like,
sliced him in two?
it would
Like what
have
is that
killed him
whip
with
made out of
one whip.
razor blades? Yeah,
Oh man.
insane.
But
And
yeah,
then
I
two
think
seconds earlier,
I would still take the Rebels fight. I would still take the Rebels fight because
yeah,
it's
what?
just so absurd. It's
Yeah,
like
it's so
they're like
absurd.
flying from every tree. They're like picking them up off the ground and tossing them on while they're
Yeah,
swinging on ropes.
so it is definitely much more dynamic that scene. It is very funny.
Yeah,
I
and
do
it's
enjoy it.
great. Like he just gets the shit kicked out of him until Rosario Dawson shows up. Like he doesn't ever really win the fight. He gets a few hits in, but
Which is it's another point that it's so interesting to watch this version of The Rock in comparison to The Rock that we have today. Because it's just like a scene like that. Would that ever be in a Rock movie today?
no, he would Steven Seagal it, dude. He'd be like, all right, so I'm gonna show up. I'll beat up the first three rebels over here. Then I'll beat up the next three over here. And then, you
Because
know
like
what I mean?
it's such a far cry from this where he's getting the shit kicked out of him for like a 4 minute fight scene until Rosario Dawson breaks it up. And then you compare it to like Fast 8 where he's in prison and he literally rips like a cinder block bench out of the ground and just starts doing bicep curls with it. And it's like, what are we doing, man? Like
Yeah,
we've gone,
exactly.
which is like, and both movies are equally ridiculous. It's just in the ridiculous of this movie seems so much more believable than that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like they're both ridiculous, sure, but like not ridiculous isn't what makes it work in this movie. Like getting beat up has nothing to do with being not ridiculous or not. It just needs I need to see you struggle. You know what I mean? Like that's like
Exactly.
part of a movie. Like you
Like,
can't just win all the time.
like I don't care how big you are. Like, you have to endear me. And the best way to do that is the Tom Cruise method, where you just get the shit kicked out of you the whole movie, but you got so much goddamn heart, you'll never stop.
Yeah, like
Like,
if I watch you bleed for something, I'll be excited when you get it. You know what I mean? Like if that makes sense.
absolutely. And it works in this movie because it I like that he just keeps getting pushed up against the wall continuously to the point where he's like, I now need to pick up a gun. Then we watch him do the most ridiculous stuff you've ever seen, where he's like double fisting
Yeah.
shotguns. Like,
He's like he's like shooting guys who are like 50 feet away on a rooftop with a shotgun. And I'm like, I don't know if that would be as effective as this looks. I'm not sure.
he just does the most insane spectacles like you've ever seen at that point. Like, it's like, dude, this movie is absolutely hilarious. Like,
Yeah. I
very,
also
very
love like
enjoyable.
Christopher Walken is just such a great villain for like he fits like we said this is a genre movie and he nails the genre like villain for this kind of genre movie. And like it's one of my favorite parts of any of these where like the guy the Rock goes through like an army of dudes with like all kinds of like heavy weaponry to get to Christopher Walken, and then at the end, Christopher Walken's just like loading up a pistol, and it's like, all right, I'll take care of this myself then. You know what I mean?
It's like, this will
Like, dude, he
take care
just
of
killed
it.
your whole army. Like, what are you gonna do that they couldn't do? I don't get it.
It's like, dude, you just watched The Rock use a shotgun like a sniper rifle. Like you think your
Right,
pistol's gonna take him out? Like,
right, right. It's so great. But I love the whole like ending too, where like it enters into fever dream territory again, where it's cutting back and forth between the action with The Rock and then Sean William Scott, who are like kind of separated. And then every once in a while, it just cuts to Christopher Walken's face, and he just says like one or two lines, and they're always hitting. It's so great. Like there's one where like The Rock's just like running around and people are shooting at him, and it cuts to Christopher Walken, and he's just like the nerve, and then it cuts
like,
back to the
ow!
action.
Like,
It's
it's
just
just,
like so good.
it's so silly.
And it keeps cutting to that Irish guy too, which it just
Oh
like
yeah, the like Declan dude or whatever his name
yeah.
is.
I didn't really like that character at all, but just in that scene, the editing was so frantic, and like those Christopher Walken's cut, like the cutaways to Christopher Walken and to the Irish pilot, just took it from like a 9 out of 10 to like a 12 out of 10 in terms of intensity for me. It was so nuts.
It's great. I think this movie was very well done for what it was trying to accomplish, which was just be like a fun, fever dreamish action comedy, in the pantheon of action comedies. And it did the job that I needed it to do. Like, the movie that I expected out of this movie is exactly what I got. Like,
Yeah.
I was totally in, on the majority of this movie. I still to this day, sometimes with my dad, we watched this a bunch when we were kids. When I was a kid, my dad loved this movie, and we still to this day quote the "You want a little lightning, huh? Huh? How about a
Yeah.
little thunder?"
Yeah.
Like, and that scene always got me too, where like he just starts like winding up his leg as he gets closer to them, and The Rock just socks him in the jaw like perfectly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that guy. I was like, yep, that works
The
for me.
the thunder and lightning thing pays off though. It works against one of the guys at the end.
Yeah, he does get it to come around. So yeah, this is a fun action comedy for me. And any like gripes I would have against the movie are really just like nitpicks at that, because it's just like it's just a turn your brain off dumb action movie. Like, it delivers exactly what I want it to do. And so I was sold on it. How about you? Do you have anything that really turned you off on this movie?
I couldn't really get behind Rosario Dawson's accent. I don't know. I don't know if it was inauthentic, but it just sounded like an American lady trying to do a Brazilian accent more
I
than it did a Brazilian accent to me. I don't know.
could feel that. Yeah.
It made it kind of tough to watch at sometimes. And I don't know if tough is the right word, but like it definitely took my focus
Noticeable.
at certain
Yeah,
parts.
yeah. Like, it draws your focus, which is never what you want a character to do when you're like invested in a movie, is to pull you out at any point when they open their mouth.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like they always stay on task in this movie, which is good. Like the rebels are silly. I didn't really like the whole float like a butterfly, sting like a bee scene. That was kind of
Yeah.
lame. Just
Yeah.
because like the rebels were like cartoon characters, they didn't feel like real people. You know what I mean? Like, which I think is a thing that American movies do with foreigners a lot. You know, like where like it's
It's
like,
like make
these
them,
people don't speak English, so aren't they silly? You
yeah,
know?
is make them caricatures. But yeah, but I mean, outside of your like four main characters, everybody else in this movie is kind of a caricature. Like
Oh, for sure.
it's
That's
like not
true.
just the
Yeah.
rebels, like even like Christopher Walken's henchmen are like all absurd. Like
Yeah,
it's just an absurd
absolutely.
movie. Like even like Declan, like the fucking Irish pilot guy, an absolute like he's based. It's so funny now that you said it. Like the Irish pilot guy is like is there's no difference between the Irish pilot guy in this movie and the Australian pilot guy in
From
Kangaroo
Beyond
Jack.
Mad Max, right?
No, from
Road
Kangaroo
Warrior.
Jack. Kangaroo Jack.
Oh, I was thinking of the guy from Road Warrior.
Oh, well, no, I was just thinking on movies that we've done here on the pod. But yeah, like
That's
honestly,
fair.
you could interchange it between any of them,
I
and
think
it's
they're
like it's
both born out of the
essentially
guy from Road Warrior,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, and it's all just essentially like that same character. They're like, what if we have like a foreigner that just says a lot of like silly shit in his accent? Like people will love it. It's like, yeah, yeah, sure, probably
Yeah, I
not,
mean
but
it is interesting you brought up Kangaroo Jack though, because this is kind of like the comparison, right? Like they both came out the same year, they both star Christopher Walken.
oh yeah, oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, and they
And
both
it
involve
feels like
like
this is the movie that
they
Kangaroo
wanted
Jack was
wanted
originally
to be.
intended to be.
Yeah,
Like not
dude,
obviously not the
honestly,
same exact movie, but like the same vibes.
now that you're saying it, the only mark against this movie I could probably level at it is that there wasn't enough kangaroos.
I
Like,
mean, they could have used a couple of
yeah,
kangaroos. Like, all
you
right.
you put a kangaroo in this movie, dude, and dude, easy 4 stars.
And it's super easy. You just gotta be like, the reason I need you to go get Sean William Scott is because he kidnapped my fucking kangaroo. And I need you to bring them both back.
He's like, and if you can only bring one, make sure it's the kangaroo.
Yeah.
You get a scene at the end where the Rock's got to choose between the kangaroo and Sean William Scott.
No, but yeah, but yeah, right. So stupid. But no,
Uh,
like it always has like a point.
God.
Like they're always going somewhere in this movie, and then like the last like half hour is super fun, and The Rock has to finally like break out of his like no breaks mode and like always stay on mission mode to go help people. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
then like when he goes and does it, the last like 30 minutes are a blast. So
No, it's solid.
what more could you ask for from the rundown? You know,
Exactly.
besides Chris Evans playing the Sean William
William
Scott
Scott
part.
and at least one kangaroo in the mix. Now it's funny that you mentioned before, you put Chris Evans in this, and we'd probably be seeing the Rundown 5 today. A sequel has been talked in development hell ever since this movie came out. Even still to this day, people apparently I was reading ask Peter Berg, like, are we getting another Rundown movie? So I wonder, I turn it over to you. Is there a world that we could get a Rundown to? Do you think now that The Rock has posted a paltry $34 million opening on a $250 million budget of Red One, that he might turn back to the Roots catalog and maybe dust off the Rundown too?
I mean, maybe. Maybe it seems interesting because like, what even is it? Like, what do you think the
That's what I'm
Rundown
saying.
Two
What do you,
is?
yeah, where do you go in a Rundown two?
Because it's been
All
way
right,
too long. You can't just do like
all right, here we
the
go. I got something for you.
yeah.
So Sean William Scott, in an effort to evade his father, has gone under reconstructive surgery and is now played by Chris Evans. But
Okay, I like the start so far. I like this.
but his dad has got such good resources, he still figures out where he is. He's hiding out now in Australia, and he's going to blackmail The Rock
Okay.
into going and getting Chris Evans. So now we've got Chris Evans, we've got our kangaroo, we're off to the races. You call it the Rundown Under.
Oh my god. It's so horrible. It's like one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Jim,
The
I
run down under. Is down under one word? Is the run down one word?
the rundown
Like,
is
is
one
it the
word.
rundown colon under?
I don't know. That's a lot. I think you'd have to make it all its own word, right? The run
The
down
run down
under.
under.
The
The
run
run
down
down
under.
under.
The
It's
run down
one
under.
word.
Yeah, it's all one word.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it.
We can workshop it.
Because
Well,
here's the thing. It can't be about his dad still trying to chase him. It's way too long. It's
no,
like
no,
the
no.
movie
Yeah,
came out like 21 years ago.
yeah, no, no, no. If we were gonna take it seriously and really, try and envision the
You gotta
sequel.
really requel this. So like how do you make it like Sean William Scott is looking for his son now?
Oh my. Yeah, you just make the first movie again, but with new characters and then legacy characters.
Yeah, and like in the beginning, like The Rock's like, after Tahiti, I told you never to talk to me again. He's like, look, I know, but John's missing. And he's like, oh
Yeah,
my God.
we need to go get my son.
Yeah. Like,
He wants some of the
now I'm
lost
in,
glory
yeah.
of my life. All right, so there you go. We got, but they're still going to Australia. It's still called the Rundown.
The run down under is so bad. Like, I would be behind it if you could explain to me how to spell it. Because, like, the run down under as
So
three words is like, it doesn't make any sense.
you just make it all one
Like, what
word.
are they going to do a 5K? Like, the
The,
run
yeah,
down under?
the
What are you
Rundown
talking about?
under. The Rundown under. The Rundown down under. The Rundown semicolon down under.
Okay.
Oh, we got something.
Yeah.
We're percolating.
And then
Or
people
you call
online
it,
could call it RD2U.
Jim, also the big thing these days is combining franchises. Could you just call this Kangaroo Jack 2 the Rundown?
I mean, I can't. I'm struggling to think why you would want to, but like, do you get Jerry O'Connell to come back?
Oh, of course. You have like a big team up movie. It's the Avengers of shitty action comedies, of
Yeah, I don't
middling
know.
2000s action comedies.
I don't see how you make a sequel to this movie, or why you would make a sequel to this movie.
No, I don't.
Honestly,
I don't think you ever would. And I think anytime they've ever asked Peter Berg about it, he's kind of like, "Stop asking me this question."
he's like, guys, like, are we still talking about this? What are we
Yeah, like
doing?
it was 20 years ago. You've been down in the mine 3 days.
You've been-
So yeah, I don't envision a world ever where we get the Rundown under. So we'll just have to settle simply for the Rundown. And I think with that we're able to move on to our next segment here, Jim. I wonder with this middling reception, was it able to get any awards love?
so it gets 2 wins and 3 nominations.
All right, at the Oscars, right?
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
Oscars.
For best
No, it
fairy
gets
tale kiss at the Oscars.
what?
No, I was using a very like an award you'd see at like the MTV Movie Awards, but equated to like the Oscars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Best
No, but so
chemistry.
it wins. Oh no, sorry. It's nominated for an MTV Movie Award
Yeah, it is.
for best fight.
Oh, yep,
It's
absolutely.
it's nominated specifically for the fight with the rebels.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. As it
Um,
should be. It
do
didn't win
you
for that.
want it?
What
What?
wins? It didn't. I was gonna say it didn't win. I wonder. Okay, actually, no. I am. I Does a Kill Bill scene win?
Yes.
Yep, knew it. Knew it. Is it the fight against the 88s?
I would imagine it's for Kill Bill Volume 1. It doesn't say.
So
This
yeah,
is
it's got
again the only thing IMDb has an explanation for is the fight from the rundown. Everything else is
interesting.
just says
Interesting.
who was in
I
it.
mean, it's got to be the fight against the 88s. Like no fight
Actually, I
tops
don't
that
know
in
because
Volume
it
One.
says Kill Bill Volume 1 winner, and then it has 2 actors here, Uma Thurman and
Oh, is it gonna be the fight against Lucy Liu?
no, it's not Lucy Liu. It's the one who plays Gogo,
Oh god.
Shiaka Koriyama.
Oh, so
I'm
they
definitely
won
not saying that
specifically
well.
for the fight. She's the one with like the ball and chain, right? Like the
Yes,
schoolgirl.
yes.
Okay,
Right. I
so
think it's
so yeah.
specifically for the end of like the Crazy
Yeah,
88
so it's
fight.
like
He
specifically
fights
that
her.
fight within that fight.
That ends up winning. There's a
Okay,
Keanu
fair.
Reeves versus Hugo Weaving for The Matrix
Oh boy.
Reloaded.
Oh boy. Doesn't he fight like
Uh,
a million of him like in that one? Right? Isn't that the one in like the abandoned like tenement square? Like
Is the third one called Reloaded?
No, the second one's Reloaded. The third one is
Yeah,
Revolution.
so it's not that one.
Oh, that's right, because they're not that fight's in the third one.
Right.
Why did I think that was the second one? Holy fuck.
But anyway, it loses to Kill Bill. X2 is in the mix there. We've talked about that
Oh
one.
boy.
It's gonna win at the Taurus World Stunt Awards. It's gonna win
All right.
2 awards.
It's got to be the tumbling down the hill, right? Like that stunt is
Yes.
absurd.
That wins for best high work. Two
Dude.
stuntmen are thrown from a jeep as it falls off the side of a cliff. The stuntmen tumble and fall down the cliff, hitting multiple trees and debris.
Fact
Eventually, the two men perform a tumbling 55-foot high fall into a large pool without the use of wires.
the fact that they did that for real is fucking insane.
Insane. They fell
Like,
55 feet.
yeah. Like that's absolute. Like that scene is like so violently insane, and the fact that they just tumbled two dudes off the like side of a cliff is unreal to me. That there's even two dudes willing to do that is also insane to me.
Yeah, and then it also wins, that same scene wins for best overall stunt by a stuntman. So like people were as impressed with this as we were at the stunt awards.
Yeah, which is like absolute. But that's what that used to be. Like these movies, when you used to like make action and action comedy movies, set out to like make a crazy stunt at times.
Right.
Like, and now everything is just green screen. Like you lose a lot of that, you know, joy of seeing these insane stunts put to film. Like you kind of see it start to make a resurgence with the John Wick guys that do all those type of movies now. Those are starting to like make a comeback where they're really doing stunts, but they're the only group that I can really think of outside of Tom Cruise himself that does this. Like The Rock ain't doing stunts like this. And like Chris Evans ain't doing stunts like this.
No, I mean, I can't imagine. They weren't even doing them back then. Like The Rock,
Yeah.
The Rock didn't do the stunt. There's other guys credited.
Yeah, but and now they'll be like, we'll just green screen the stunt or whatever. Or now a lot of it's been ingested into superhero movies, and so much of that relies on green screen spectacle that there's no building this stunt to do.
Yeah,
A lot of it's been lost outside of Tom Cruise and like Mission Impossible movies.
right. But no, so I mean, like, it's good that it wins awards for that, because I think it did deliver on that stuff specifically.
Yeah,
like, in a way that, like you were pointing out, I don't know that a lot of movies deliver in the same way these days.
Yeah, so like that's huge. So big deserved win for that. And honestly, like Oscars, it's time to get on the ball and make a stunt category and honor these people that are like willing to break every bone in their body to perform these stunts for you guys.
It would be pretty cool. I would probably watch the Oscars if they did a stunt category.
Although, like, if they did it and then like immediately you have to give it to Tom Cruise for like it's possible. Like all the stunt guys,
he would have to win one eventually.
he'd have to. All the stunt guys are like so happy, like finally we're gonna be recognized. And then they're like the first year, they're like, and Tom Cruise is the winner. Like that motherfucker.
So I think though I want to talk a little bit about Peter Berg.
Yeah, absolutely. A very interesting, not only director, but actor as well.
Yeah, so I think
He's in a very notable comedy that I love too. So very, very glad that you're picking Peter Berg out of
he's
everybody.
in one, you're saying?
He is an actor in a comedy that I love. He's not a big part. He's kind of like a supporting guy in it. But as we go through the filmography, I wonder if you'll be able to pick this out knowing my taste, if you could figure out what comedy he's in that I love.
Gotcha. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna focus on his acting career until I get to his like first movie as a director, and then probably switch over to director from there, because it's like an interesting mix here. He definitely acts a lot earlier. He does an episode of 21 Jump Street, like
Nice.
the original show in 1988. He does an episode of a TV show I've never heard of called O'Hara.
Or that.
O'Hara? Maybe O'Hara?
I still haven't heard of it. Pronounce it any way you want.
1998, he stars as Eddie in Never on Tuesday, which I do not know what that is.
Yep, never heard of that.
This is the reason I really wanted to look at this though. 1988, the movie Miracle Mile. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I've never even heard of that.
So I know that recommendations are many, but you need to go watch Miracle Mile like immediately, like as
Okay,
soon as you have
hold
the
on.
chance. It is such a good
Oh,
movie.
okay. The plot depicts the panic surrounding a supposed doomsday brought on by a sudden outbreak of war and its oncoming nuclear holocaust. That
Yeah,
does
so
sound
this
pretty nuts.
is
Dude, fucking the Mark Green from ER is in it, Anthony Edwards.
yep.
Let's go, baby. All right, Jim, I'm
Yeah,
in.
so like
I'm in.
the plot of the movie is like the guy's like out to lunch
Yeah,
and like accidentally picks up a payphone call or something
yeah.
and like or he's like trying to make a call and like the lines get crossed and the person on the other side of the line is like working at like a military facility, I guess.
Okay.
And he's like trying to I guess the guy was trying to call his dad, so he's like, listen, like there's nuclear bombs like coming to Los Angeles, like you need to get out, like they'll be there like in an hour.
Oh,
And
dude,
like
that's
so he
insane.
overhears this on a payphone and it's like him going through LA, like nobody else realizes what the fuck's going on and he's trying to
Yeah,
go find like a girl or something, like somebody that he cares about. He's trying to get to them and get them out of the city.
nice. Okay, it's on Amazon Prime. Let's go, baby.
It's awesome. You gotta
Yep.
go
All
watch
right.
it,
I'll
dude.
be watching. I'll be watching that tonight.
It's
Put it on the board.
yeah, definitely put it on the board and definitely report back with
I,
your findings.
I absolutely will. You got it.
And then I don't know a lot of these other movies in the 80s. I'll see if any of them stick out to you. Tale of Two Sisters, Heart
Never
of
heard of it.
Dixie,
Nope.
Race for Glory.
Nope.
Race for Glory seems like it's worth a look though. Let's see.
Let's see. Where is
A
it?
member
Race.
of an up-and-coming motorcycle racing team abandons his teammates to join a rival team. He ends up playing second fiddle to the champion of the new team. You've already said the
Oh,
word team like 12
so
times. I'm
many
so
times. Yeah. Like, is he
confused.
playing for a team?
Eventually he gets back to with his old friends to try and win the Grand Prix. Okay, cool.
Great. 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 Wonderful.
Yeah, really not glad I
Yeah.
clicked on
Does
that.
not sound great.
I don't really recognize a lot of these other movies that he's in as an actor.
Okay.
And I'm not going to read all of them because there is a lot. The next thing I know is he's in Heavyweights in 1995.
Nice.
He's uncredited as the chef.
Okay.
And then, I mean, that's really the only thing that stands out to me as an actor. So I'm going to switch over to his directing career, which I think
Okay.
is going to be a lot more interesting.
All right. So you're not even going to take a guess at the comedy movie?
Oh, that he's in?
Yeah. You didn't direct it. He's only in it.
Oh, boy. And it's like your.
I very much enjoy this movie. I've quoted it many times throughout our lives together.
It's not Heavyweights?
It is not Heavyweights.
Okay. Oh, he's in Corky Romano.
Oh yeah.
Does he play one of the brothers in
It's
Corky
the brother
Romano?
that can't.
Yeah, no
He's the
way.
brother that
That's the
can't
same
read.
guy.
Yeah, he's the one that can't read.
Dude, that's wild. Okay, yeah, that's a good pull. I did not know that. That's hilarious.
I fucking love that movie.
That's one of the funniest movie scenes ever when he's trying to order the ice cream but he can't read. So he keeps going like, let me get a Rocky Road.
Like we don't
And
have
the
Rocky
sign
Road.
is just so clearly chocolate and vanilla. It's so good. And he could just order like the two normal flavors and he'd be done and he'd be out of it.
But
But
he
he
just
keeps
keeps
ordering all these wacky flavors. Oh man, Corky Romano, really underrated movie. It's so
very
funny.
underrated classic right there.
So then, but
Absolutely.
let's transition over to his directing career.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear what he's got on tap.
1998. Have you ever seen the movie Very Bad Things?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never gotten to watch it.
Yeah, John Favreau, where they like kill the stripper. Pretty
Yeah.
interesting movie. I haven't seen it in a while.
Interesting.
Then in 2003, he does The Rundown.
Yeah,
2004. He's gonna go on a pretty sick run here.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Maybe not quite a 3-movie run, but 2004 he directs Friday Night Lights.
Dude, bona fide right there.
Bona fide. It's
Yeah.
blowing my mind that this is the older brother from Corky Romano.
Right, dude? It makes it
directed these
so
movies.
much better. Yeah. Like Great movie.
2007, he directs The Kingdom.
Ooh, not a big fan of that movie.
Yeah, that's that Jamie Foxx one, right?
Yeah, like Jamie Foxx. I think Jason Bateman's in it too.
Yep, and Chris Cooper. Yeah, it's like the one
Yeah,
where they're in
it's like the
Afghanistan, Iraq, one
yeah,
of those two
yeah. It's like the
places.
Iraq War or something. They were like gung ho on making Iraq War movies in like the mid two
Yeah, it's
thousands.
wild to me that that came out in 2007. That feels not like it was not that long ago.
Yeah.
But I do love that movie. And then 2008, he makes Hancock,
God,
which maybe this is maybe the thing that throws us off here on a three movie run. But
there's
that's a pretty,
there was a movie. I mean, that movie's not
that's no joke.
terrible. Yeah, it's not a horrible movie. Hancock. It's watchable. Another bit. Jason Bateman, man, he loves working with the bait machine.
Yeah. And then we're gonna jump ahead in time a little bit here. We're gonna go all the way to 2012, and I'm gonna ask you a this or that on this one. Do you take The Rundown
Mm.
or 2012's Taylor Kitsch vehicle
Oh boy, here we go.
Battleship?
Oh, dude, Battleship all day.
Yeah, it's like not even
Not even a
close, right?
question. Yeah, not even a question. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Jim, and I'll go on the record right now. I unironically enjoy that movie. Like that
That
is a
movie is
yeah,
amazing.
that
It's
movie is
amazing.
great.
I
That
don't know
movie
if
is
I would personally use the word unironically, but it's I do like it a lot.
like that movie is so much better than it has any right being.
Yeah, I mean, it made a very fatal flaw, which was it put Taylor Kitsch in it, which for
It's
whatever
tough.
reason, that's like a surefire way to make sure nobody sees your
No one's gonna
movie.
say it. That's already post John Carter. Like after
Yeah,
that, she should
right,
have been like, that's a book on this guy.
right. But but yeah, Battleship is like again, I don't know if I would say unironically, but it's an amazing movie.
Well,
Like
I'm going there, Jim. I'm saying unironically.
when those World War, like when I realized that the World War II veterans were gonna need to sail the old World War II ship to beat the aliens, I was like so in. I've never been more in for anything in my entire life.
It's fantastic.
And it
Like
has that great scene where they're literally playing Battleship, like
Battleship,
they have
yeah,
like the grid and they're like
yeah.
J-12.
It's like
It's
so
so
funny. It's like, dude, they found a way to put it in there, like absolutely insane.
yeah, because like if you're making a Battleship movie, you have to.
You
Like
have
you
to,
have to do
you
that.
have to.
At least I
It's
think you have to.
yeah, and it's insane that that didn't kick off the Hasbro universe.
Yeah, the Hasbro
We didn't get our
universe.
Candyland movie. It's such a shame. The alternate reality where Battleship was a bona fide $1 billion success and it launches the Hasbro universe would have been. You take Taylor Kitsch out, you put Chris Evans in, like
I
we
was
got
just gonna say, like, it's like another movie. Like, there was a severe shortage of Chris Evans in the early 2000s that we, looking back, I think we all realize. But then moving on, in 2016, what is Deepwater Horizon?
Are you just gonna skip over another big vehicle of his from 2013? I'm following along here with you, Jim. You're just gonna skip over Lone Survivor like that?
Oh, I guess I was gonna skip over Lone Survivor.
Mark Wahlberg classic.
Oh my God, what is this movie?
Have you ever seen Lone Survivor?
I don't think so. I think like
Oh,
every Mark Wahlberg movie after Shooter that's not Shooter is just all one movie in my head.
so he's going back to Afghanistan, Peter Berg, in this movie. And it's about a four-man SEAL team that's like tracking down a Taliban leader and they get like stuck behind enemy lines and like there's a group that's like gotta come rescue them. And like the group that's stuck behind enemy lines is like Mark Wahlberg, Emil Hirsch, Ben Foster, and everyone's favorite again, Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, oh God. So yeah, like the plot of this movie is it's like a totally forgettable like,
Yeah.
war movie.
So yeah, that was a movie, Jim. And then what was the one you said from 2016?
2016 Deepwater Horizon, which I think is
Oh,
also a Mark Wahlberg movie.
yes, it is. And another I've brought up Deepwater Horizon before, when we were doing Kate Hudson for the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days episode. This is the
Ah,
one about the oil rig that goes up in flames, and they all have to try and escape. It's like a disaster movie. Like the oil rig goes up, and they've all got to try and escape the
Oh,
oil rig.
yeah. I remember you telling me about
Yeah,
this.
Kurt Russell's in it. Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, so do you
Yeah.
take I'm guessing you take Deepwater Horizon over the Rundown?
Yeah, I would take Deepwater Horizon over the Rundown.
Same year, another Mark Wahlberg movie.
Dude, he loves Mark Wahlberg. He strictly works with Mark
2016
Wahlberg now.
Patriots Day.
Dude, there's a fucking movie.
This
There's a
guy might be like the Mark Wahlberg guy actually, because
he is.
we're in the Mark Wahlberg years of
Yeah,
Peter Berg's
of
career.
Peter Berg. Dude, you've named
Because
like
then
we're on a 3 movie run right now of strictly working with Mark Wahlberg.
four, I mean, like he does like some TV stuff in between Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon, but no other like feature films that I
Yeah, no
can
other
see.
features. Did you ever see Patriots Day?
No, I never saw
Oh
Patriots
boy.
Day.
Yeah, that's a movie. So it's about the Boston Marathon bombing.
I know what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I
Oh
just
yeah,
would
yeah.
never see it in a million
Yeah.
years.
Funnily enough, I remember when that movie was coming out and there was like a big deal because they wanted to give Mark Wahlberg like the key to the city for Boston for the movie, and Boston was where he famously like almost went to prison for like blinding that Vietnamese man when he was a kid. So
Yeah.
the cops were like, absolutely fucking not. You're not giving him that key to the city.
Yeah, like he's like a violent criminal. Like,
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's real good that like he's on the up and up now, but like he's still blinded a dude.
yeah, that's
Like you're not
hilarious.
giving him the fucking key.
The key to the city. Could you? Why would they even think about giving him the key to the city for being in the movie
I
Patriots Day?
yeah,
It's not
I
even a
don't
good
know.
movie.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
know.
I guess I've
But
never
also
seen
like
it, so I don't know.
but also like at the same time, that's kind of just like it's just like a show, right? Like the key doesn't actually unlock anything. Like
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like
I mean, yeah, but like it's
it's just kind
symbolic at least. You should
yeah.
earn the key to the city, and I think like
No,
maybe
no,
give
I
it to like one of the guys who was actually
actually
there
no.
instead of Mark Wahlberg. Like I don't know.
I agree that it should be given to someone who earns it and deserves it. But but it's also like it is funny that it's this big it's basically just like a big show because it's like it's not like you're actually like it's like you get the key to the city. It's like, yeah, but like I can't go anywhere in the city now and use it to get into anything.
No, it's like in Skyrim when you get the thing that can unlock any lock. Like that's it's literally
Dude,
it works. It works on
imagine you're
every
just like
door.
in your apartment in your high rise and like somebody walks in, you're like, dude, what the fuck you doing here? And he's like, it's all right, dude. I get the key to the city.
Yeah, the key. There's nothing I can do.
He's like, damn it, dude, he does. He's like, all right, man, come on in, make yourself comfortable.
But so anyway, he's gonna keep his Mark Wahlberg run going here. Which well, hold on. Did you see Patriots Day?
Did see Patriots Day. I saw it in
What did
theaters.
you think?
So we'll
Any
get
good?
it's a movie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I thought. I haven't seen it, but I can't
it's a movie.
envision a world where I think it's any good.
It's
But he's
something.
gonna keep Mark Wahlberg going here in 2018 with Mile 22.
Keeps him on the fucking hook. What the I've never seen Mile 22. I've heard of it though,
This
because I think this is
one
the one with Ronda Rousey, right?
I do not know. Let me see if Ronda
It's
Rousey's
like,
in it.
yep, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I think this came out while we were working together at the theater, honestly.
Yeah, I think it did too. Yeah, this is what 2018. That would track.
Yeah.
And even we weren't like, we'll watch dog shit, but I won't watch that.
Yeah, definitely not. I did not see that movie either. And then he's gonna keep it going, dude. So he makes like a TV movie that
Dude
is
just
doesn't seem worth talking about. And then a TV
loves Mark
special for
Wahlberg.
like a boxing thing. But 2020, directed by Spencer Confidential.
Oh, oh, that
It's just
fuck
like
that
he just
movie.
makes movies with Mark Wahlberg now. That's what he does. That's his job.
And it's I guess now since this was 2020 is the last like feature that he's directed because Mark Wahlberg he kind of makes a shift post COVID where Mark Wahlberg now is really making family and religious affair movies now. He's not really
Yeah, I don't know
making
though, because I saw a trailer for a movie where he plays an assassin in a plane, and like,
oh yeah, he is making I did see that comeback the Flight Risk movie.
yeah, I think that's what it
Yeah,
was called. Yeah,
yep, the one with Topher Grace, right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
think like one of them's a criminal who's like turned like into an informant, and Mark
yep.
Wahlberg, for
It's been
some reason,
sent
they decide to try and kill him by like making the pilot
stealing.
of his plane an
Yeah.
assassin.
Yeah, I did see the trailer for that also. Also, that movie looks absolutely hilarious. But that feels like a movie that maybe back in the day Peter Berg would have directed with him.
I'm honestly kind of bummed that he didn't direct it.
Yeah,
I
right.
think I would
Well,
definitely be more excited for it if he did.
Jim, you do know who did direct Flight
I
Risk, right?
I don't actually. Who did?
Mel Gibson.
Oh my God, I take it
Now
all back.
tell me you're not back in.
I take it all back. I'm very happy with who directed Flight Risk.
Yeah, like that's gonna be a movie, all right.
I mean, I've liked a lot of the movies Mel Gibson's made. That's all I can say.
And listen, it's coming out in the best dumping ground for movies like that, right in the heat of January. Chef's kiss right there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be something. But that's
I mean,
that's
how many weeks do you think it'll be before Flight Risk is on streaming?
if it's more than four, like unheard of.
I'm like honestly not
Within like
convinced that
nine,
they won't just like pull the theater release before that
just
comes
dump it
out.
right on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mel might still have some pull. It's like you do. You're absolutely getting me at least one weekend in that theater.
Yeah.
He
But
better
and then
because
yeah,
I need to see that on the big screen.
I mean, I'm saying now that I will, but it's enticing if I'll actually go see that movie in theaters.
See come January how desperate we are for feature films.
It's just too jarring to see Mark Wahlberg with that bald cap on.
Yeah, very hilarious seeing him wear that. Very funny.
But I
But
don't really, that's all I really have for IMDb Deep Dive. I don't know
no,
if it's
that's
worth going through any of the actors right now.
no. And I mean we'll come across The Rock plenty of times. Sean, you had your
Sean
chance.
William Scott again, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see Rosario Dawson down the line again. So Peter Berg was a good one because he definitely has had a very interesting directing career. A lot of highs in there with one absolute bona fide classic in Battleship. So excellent for you.
Yeah, I mean, but like you say that, but like that's not even the most classic movie on there. Like he had a lot of like I was digging a lot of what I was reading.
Yeah, no, he had a lot of good stuff in there. And I hope he gets to do another movie soon because it's a shame that we're now like what about to go into year five and we haven't had another feature from the
It
Berg
looked like he
machine.
was working on some stuff, but nothing like recently, like in
Yeah.
2023 and 2022, I saw some stuff on there, but none of it was feature films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
none of it was feature. So let's hope he gets another feature under his belt soon enough because he's got too much good stuff in there to waste that talent. And now we'll turn that talent over to our star ratings.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
All right, Jim. Now, before we give ours, would you like to take a guess at what Roger Ebert gave the rundown? Do you
Oh
think he
man.
dug on it or do you think he called it a snoozer?
He does that a 4, right?
Yes, he does out of four and he does
I'm
halves.
gonna say he gave it 3 stars.
Very close. He gave it 3.5 out of four.
No, I knew it. I should have said
He
three and a
was,
half.
yeah, he was in. The little blurb I got here, he wrote, the jungle locations give the film a texture and beauty that underlines the outsized characters.
Yeah, he's
Raj
right.
just
Yeah,
yeah, dude,
it's like the
always
perfect setting for it.
yeah, always knows how to get right to the heat of what needs to be said. So now I'll turn it over to you, Jim. Let's hear a final rating and thought for the rundown.
I am gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah,
Oh,
which is
all right.
slightly lower than Ebert's score because he does out of 4. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It just like it delivered everything I was hoping it would deliver. It had some laughs. It had some great action moments. It had some great stunts. And like I said, the last half hour I had a ton of fun. So
This is a fun. This movie reminds me of like going to a theme park. Like it's just, a fun day out. Like I don't need to really think too much. I'm just enjoying myself. So this movie does exactly what I needed it to do. So I'm right there with you. I'm gonna go just below. I'm gonna go 3. It's a solid, fun adventure, and I'm all for it, and I'm all in on it. So with a 3 from me and a 3.5 from you, Jim, that's gonna take us to a 6.5. And
I'm
it's
gonna guess without knowing that this is gonna have a pretty good run here in the 6.5s.
You're in the 6.5s. Let's see. I was about to say it looks like it's been a minute since we've had a 6.5, but that's not true. We actually had a fairly recent movie that hit a 6.5 that we're actually going to come up against first here. So, Jim, do you take the rundown or do you take Too Fast, Too Furious?
I'll take the rundown.
I will also take the rundown there. All right. So, do you take the rundown or do you take Spy Kids 2?
That's a lot harder,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna take the rundown.
I'm also going to take the rundown there. This one is the this one's gonna be a tough one. Interested to hear your thoughts here. Do you take the rundown or do you take episode 2, Attack of the Clones?
That's oh man. Is that the last 6.5?
Nope, there is one more above Star Wars.
Oh man.
Yeah,
This is
that's a fight right there.
it's
Jim,
really hard for me to
Jim,
say. It's like really
Jim.
hard for me to say episode 2, but it's also really hard for me to not say episode 2.
Say it. Episode 2. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm taking
It's
episode
up.
2. Yeah.
It's episode 2. It's a hard fought battle right there. But I think that's a solid spot for the rundown to fall in place. And the movie ahead of episode 2 that it would have had to do battle with afterwards would have been Armageddon.
Oh yeah, okay. I think that order is right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that order of the 6.5s works there. So the rundown going to slide into the 26th spot, just misses out on the top 25. So I'll fall in between Star Wars Episode 2 and Spy Kids 2. And that, I think, is a worthy spot for that to end up in. Now, we didn't get to it in the box office. You didn't cross paths with it. So we're able to take some guesses here tonight, Jim. Do you want to take a guess? And would you like a hint as to what next week's episode will be?
I would like a hint, yeah.
Okay. I think, well, let me just quickly scan through the movies that we've done so far so that I can accurately say that this is, in fact, the first horror movie that we will be doing here on the podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah, the first horror movie. And I will also give you one extra hint there.
Can you give me the
In
year too?
2003. We're still in 2003.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, first horror movie that we're doing here on the pod, as well as it is a remake of a very popular horror movie from the 70s.
Okay. From the 70s.
Yes.
It's got to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Yes, it is. So 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Jessica Biel
Yeah, Jessica,
and
dude,
some other people.
Jessica Biel was in this.
Yes, this is I haven't watched. I think the only time I ever watched this movie was when we watched it in theaters. And I don't remember if you came with us, because we're starting to get now into the era where we would go to see these movies together. I don't know if you came to this one though. I know Ryan did.
I don't think I did see this one with you guys.
Yeah,
The
and I
first
think
horror movie I can think of that we saw would be The Hills Have Eyes, which is not for a few more
it's not
years.
for a little bit. Yeah. So then I guess you did because I know Ryan came and I know Charlie came. So I guess you missed out on that one. So yeah, so gonna be fun to go back to this one. And actually that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 version, was actually the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I had ever seen. I had never even seen the original at that point. I didn't even know there was an original at that point. Um, so this was my first foray into that universe.
Yeah, I remember this. A lot of people thinking that this wasn't so good compared to the original. Like the remake was kind of a letdown for a lot of people.
Yeah, which I mean is usually the case with all those horror remakes that we got a lot of when we were in the mid 2000s of like classic horror movies.
Yep.
'Cause we got a lot of them when we were in the mid 2000s. And we're going to do a bunch of them. So we're going to get to dive through a good amount of those movies because we went and saw all those pieces of crap.
Yep. I definitely like that era better than like the 2010s and 2015s when like stuff like the Bye Bye Man started coming out and like I think a lot of the newer ones are way dumber than some of these like slasher ones.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that old school, updated slasher era that we grew up on in the mid 2000s. So it's gonna be fun to dive into that one. Do you have any other recommendation for the people today other than the Miracle Man?
I went and saw
Mile, whatever it was
Conclave
called.
and I thought it was
Oh,
pretty good. I thought it was pretty
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Conclave. It's getting good. It's getting good award buzz too right now, Conclave. So that's a good one for you guys out there. If you're digging on movies, you're digging on the Oscars to go check out because it looks like that's gonna get some love.
Yeah. The ending was a bit weird. The ending kind of like took the wind out of my sails.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely is a movie that kind of falls apart when it like reveals its last minute twists, where I don't think it really needed a last minute twist.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would have liked it better or worse. It needed something. Like it needed like that's like a thing in mystery movies. Like there's always got to be something I didn't expect that happens at the end, because then it's like, oh, that really was a good mystery. Like I didn't see that coming, but also at the same time it makes sense, you know?
Especially like a mystery movie too, like the revelation where you're waiting for that other shoe to drop has got to be something that makes you worth going on this like 2 hour journey.
Right, and like usually like I want to learn something that like recontextualizes like whatever else I've watched in the movie, and like it didn't really have that, I guess. But
Yeah, feel that.
I would say overall though, really good movie. Like there
Yeah,
was a lot of intense scenes, and
great acting
John Lithgow is like great in it.
as always. Stanley Tucci, you can't go wrong. It's a
Yeah, Stanley
yeah,
Tucci, that was the name I was trying
yeah,
to think of. Stanley Tucci
trio.
was good.
Yeah, trio of great actors in that movie, and I definitely think at the very least this movie will get Ray Fiennes a nomination.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because he really was great.
Yeah, yeah, he was absolutely fantastic.
But what
Uh,
about you? Anything?
what did I just watch? I did just watch something. Um, oh, I rewatched. So this isn't like a newer movie, but I think this is something that, if for any sports fans out there, you should definitely check this movie out, especially if you haven't seen it because it's a classic. I rewatched Miracle for the first time in a while.
Oh, the that bad remake of D2 Mighty Ducks.
Oh, guy, you just watch your mouth there.
I'm just saying,
Insulting,
you tell me what's the difference between
insulting
that and
Kurt
D2
Russell
Mighty
like that.
Ducks.
This stuff really happened, man.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Kurt Russell brought the team for it. What I liked a lot about so I rewatched this movie because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I was in the mood for like a sports movie, so I turned it on. And what I really liked about Miracle, one, directed by the guy who did Warrior, one of the greatest movies of all time. That guy just knows how to do sports movies.
Yeah,
The way they shoot the hockey scenes is so magnetic that it really makes you feel like you're in the stands watching the game with the people in the
yeah,
audience. It was very masterfully done.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have to check it out. I haven't seen it in a while.
And I really dug on that. That's not the last movie I watched, but the other two movies that I saw in theaters were not good, so I don't want to recommend them to people.
That's fair.
So I'm gonna go with Miracle. That's going to be my thing for the people. So go check out Miracle if you haven't seen it. Make sure you can check out Conclave before it leaves theaters. Make sure you're staying up on your Oscar movies because the race is just about to start beginning. It's going to heat up within the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. And make sure you tune with us next week when we dive into the horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.